of Cardboard Wars, we dive into the rich legacy of O-Pee-Chee and the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Explore the legendary history and significance of O-Pee-Chee's iconic hockey cards, their unique bilingual design, and their impact on collectors. Discover how Wayne Gretzky's journey from backyard rink to redefining hockey created a rare rookie card that set a gold standard for collectors. We hope you enjoy this episode of Cardboard Wars.
Tonight, we're heading north. I mean, way north. To a factory town in Ontario, Canada, where a candy company with a bird's name helped to create the DNA of hockey cards, and honestly, a big chunk of the entire hobby itself. This is the story of O-Pee-Chee, from gum to Gretzky, from bilingual backs to record-shattering sales of cards and boxes.
If you grew up ripping wax in Canada or chasing Canadian parallels, you already know. O-Pee-Chee hits a little bit different.
Different card stock, different checklist, different culture. Same addiction, fellas. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cardboard Wars. This is one of your hosts. I go by Ben Rippin online, joined with two of my partners today. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
I'm Bob's Rippin.
I'm Kevin Rips.
We make podcasts about the history of the hobby, the manufacturers that make them, the teams they play on, the players, the cards, the values, and most importantly, all of us nerds that enjoy collecting all types of sports cards. There's a candy company we just mentioned. This is in London, not the good London, not the Winston Churchill London, the other London. This is London, Ontario. Two brothers, J.K. and D.H. McDermott, launch a gum outfit with kind of a weird name that means the Robin. O-Pee-Chee. Candy first, but later, a bit later, they also start manufacturing sports cards. That later that I mentioned actually changes the hobby.
So 1911, they start making candy, but let's fast forward to the 1930s. O-Pee-Chee starts putting out these beautiful hockey cards. You guys, the V304 series, A through E, from 1933 to 1938. They're bilingual. Their cards in the 30s are colorful. They're pure pre-war art, gentlemen. Like, if you've ever held a V304 card in your hand, like, you can feel Canada in the ink, Kevin. It's north of the border. It's Canada. It's hockey, guys. It's their national sport.
Hello, Canada and hockey fans in the United States and Newfoundland.
And that bilingual vibe, it isn't a gimmick. It's actually their identity. O-Pee-Chee is selling to a country that speaks English and French, but they breathe hockey. Those backs are like a passport. 2 languages, 1 obsession.
But then for a while, when the war starts in the 40s, there's rationing. The priorities start to shift. There is a seed planted, though, that there's probably going to be a future for these sports cards, and there's a really good chance that they're actually going to come back.
In the 50s, on the other side of the war, Ben, in 1958, in fact, O-Pee-Chee locks in a marketing or licensing partnership with Topps, a brand we've all heard of. Topps in the 50s is obviously blowing up because of baseball cards and the iconic Mickey Mantle that we've done an episode about before, kind of launches that Topps brand into the American national psyche. But in Canada, they get their localized version of Topps, football, baseball, and hockey. And it's through this partnership with O-Pee-Chee. And that's when you start seeing the printed in Canada differences, gentlemen. And later, some wild set divergences where O-Pee-Chee's making totally different cards in their sets than Topps is.
It's crazy, guys. I feel like every episode we've covered quite a few companies already. And Topps gets mentioned in every company, right? Every single one. But anyways, back to O-Pee-Chee. It's by 1968, 69, O-Pee-Chee is cranking out its own Canadian hockey set under that Topps umbrella. Again, the bilingual backs. I got to be honest, guys, I grew up in Arizona on the border. When I think of the word bilingual, this is not what I'm thinking of, but that's what it was. Like they had bigger checklists than the US releases. And like the collectors started to take notice. O-Pee-Chee is not just a translation. It's actually a completely different card experience.
And in the background, Canada formalizes what O-Pee-Chee had already leaned into, this kind of bilingual labeling. Consumer Packaging and the Labeling Act, which happened in 1970, cements English French on all consumer goods. The hobby's ripple effect, those card backs that we've all stared at our entire lives, actually taught the generation French.
It's the 70s now. The hobby is like a playground. O-Pee-Chee rolls WH content into the world. Yes, the Rebel League, dedicated to WH series hits like 74, 75, all the way up through, I actually think the greatest year of all time, 1978, directly tied to the year I was born. That's all I'm saying. There you would see logos that you don't see anymore, teams that burn bright and then disappeared, which when you have something that only lives for a short period of time and there's collectors involved, that is like catnip, especially for those that feel the need to build a set.
Right now, O-Pee-Chee and Topps kind of have this annual dance back and forth. They do the same design some years, different checklists, different trade lines, some with French text, some with English text, and some with different facts. That's kind of what makes O-Pee-Chee O-Pee-Chee.
And I mean, it's about this time that the industry kind of is waking up to the idea that there's a different set of cards being sold over on the other side of the border. Like as a kid, growing up in that time, you don't have exposure to it's not the internet age, guys. We can't see these cards out that the Canadian kids are playing with down here in the United States. But we're starting to wake up in the late 70s and the early 80s to this idea that, oh my gosh, there's like this whole nother set of cards on the other side.
Then comes 1982, 1983. Topps skips and doesn't even make a hockey card. They made some stickers, of course, but no actual Topps product. So O-Pee-Chee is actually carrying the whole torch. The major NHL card sets for that entire season only made by them, and a little bit of a kind of unique snapshot towards the Canadian side of things.
Think of it as like a clean single to the opposite field. Just fundamentable. I just made a new word, guys. I would like royalties on that going forward. Think of it as a clean single to the opposite field. Fundamental, but also unforgettable. O-Pee-Chee shows that it can anchor a year all by itself. It's actually saying I don't need Topps.
I feel like instead of like an opposite field single, you should have went with like a slap shot to the post or something. I never played hockey, so I don't know, but it feels like it. But tucked in there was a celebration of Gretzky's ridiculous numbers from 81 to 82, and O-Pee-Chee leans in to moments like that.
To Dave Loveloy, to Gretzky. Gretzky inside. Oh! What are you going to do? That's the beauty. That's the beauty, Jim. I'm sorry. That's unbelievable.
In fact, if you've ever opened a box from 81 to 82, I don't know how many there are, but there's like 4, 8, 10 different Gretzkys in there. I've opened a box and I was like, oh my gosh, Gretzky.
I watched you open that box, and I want to say, how many did you pull out of that box? Wasn't there
20 or 30.
12?
It was a
Yeah,
lot.
it was a bunch. It was a whole bunch. And yeah, that's crazy.
But by the 90s, when us three thought we were cool, the hobby kind of goes through another tough time. In 1994, there's a Major League Baseball strike. The 1994 to 1995, there was an NHL lockout. The momentum for the hobby is stalling, especially for hockey. O-Pee-Chee pivots back towards making candy. In 1996, Nestle buys the company as a manufacturer, and the classic O-Pee-Chee gone. But maybe not for the brand.
Topps actually kept the O-Pee-Chee name alive for a while, you guys, via licensing all the way up through 2003 and 2004. And if you were Rippin back then, you remember O-Pee-Chee inserts and parallels that would sneak their way back into some of the Topps products back then.
Yeah, but then there's the big handoff. Upper Deck comes in, takes over the O-Pee-Chee brand starting in 06, 07 for hockey. And, it's kind of funny. We've talked about this before on this show, Upper Deck. That's the one thing they really still have going for them is hockey. They just haven't let it go. The cool thing is Upper Deck understands they got to keep that retro design. They keep those giant checklists and that sort of tactile O-Pee-Chee feels. It gets a little modernized because that's who Upper Deck was, but they really came in and took it over.
And then one more quick detour for O-Pee-Chee. When in 2009, Upper Deck launched an O-Pee-Chee baseball 600 card set, kind of nodding to the overall heritage of the brand. But then the MLB license changes and that window closes.
In hockey, though, O-Pee-Chee's become a yearly ritual again. Big checklists, wrapper redemptions, a set you can build with your kids or obsess over on your own.
And because it's O-Pee-Chee, it still feels, Canadian, even though it ships worldwide.
I have to imagine, gentlemen, that people were taking boxes of O-Pee-Chee hockey and using them to hold their door open, or they were tossing them in the garbage can or making strange brew Canadian jokes. And I kind of think the joke ended up on them because just last year in February of 2004, somebody had a sealed case of O-Pee-Chee sitting in their basement, frozen in some igloo up in Canada or something, sealed case. And they put it up for auction. And gentlemen, Heritage, one of the bigger auction houses in the world, auctions this sealed case. It has 16 boxes, probably 24 Gretzky's rookie cards sitting in there, and it sells for $3.72 million. Oh my goodness.
The story on that is the family knew that case of cards was down in their basement the whole time, but O-Pee-Chee and Topps in those same years, on the outside of their cases, O-Pee-Chee had a different year printed on the outside of the case. And so these family that had looked at it thought that these were from, I can't remember if it was the year before or the year after Gretzky's rookie year. So that case of cards just sat there until somebody that knew that that's how O-Pee-Chee had done it, helped them discover that it was actually Gretzky's rookie year card case, which is just absolute insanity. Look, whether you're chasing the V304 pre-war art, the WHA curious stuff, right? That vintage stuff, Kevin, that came and was gone before you even knew those teams existed. Or whether it's a solo 82, 83 run with all the Gretzky fancy cards that Ben got 12 of in his one box, or whether it's the new modern Upper Deck O-Pee-Chee builds, you're collecting a story that Canada gave to the hobby. right? Bilingual backs, you guys. I'm looking at my Gretzky rookie right now. Half of it's in French. Community roots, just a different way to frame the same sport.
What I love about the O-Pee-Chee story is that they're proof that a parallel can actually become culture, and that sometimes the version from up north can tell you more about the game than the version from down south where we all are.
I was flying down to see actually all three of you the other day in Phoenix, and on my Delta flight, I watched a movie, and I ended up watching Miracle, which is the story of the U.S. hockey team that beats Russia. Such kind of an emotional, good film. But on my way back, I text Bob Rippin, our co-host here. I'm like, hey, Bob, I've been holding on to this card that I bought you for like 2 months, which means you haven't visited me in 2 months. So stop being a jerk and drive up and see your homie. Because Bob, I had bought for you with your money that you still owed me a card. What is it that I bought you?
I'm staring at it right now because I did immediately upon our return come up and visit you. I think I was there yesterday. I picked up my 1979-80 O-Pee-Chee number 18 Wayne Gretzky, and Ben, as you know, I like to buy them in a grade 1. So this one here that I'm staring at has absolutely been loved. But man, it's just a cool card, you guys.
Everybody, Bob collects. Bob Rippin online on Instagram. He collects PSA or Beckett, BG, whatever. He collects grade 1 of the most iconic cards in history, which I think super cool. So whenever I walk by one, he gets a text. I'm like, hey, you want me to grab you this, whatever? And this one got his attention because finding a PSA 1 is sometimes as hard as finding a PSA 10. They're very, very difficult to track down. But if you're only going to own one card in hockey, it's this card. It's blue. It's beautiful. One version says Topps, the one printed and given out in the United States, and one version says O-Pee-Chee, the Canadian version. Such an impactful card. As much as I want Kevin and Bob to dig in to the actual card and its population reports and its values, I cannot allow this gentleman to happen. Because in order to understand the card, you got to understand the player. You can't hate the player, Kevin. You hate the game? Is that how the quote goes? I don't remember. Some players change the game. Others go a step above it, and they actually define it. And maybe once in a lifetime, there's a player that actually transcends it. In hockey, that player is Wayne Gretzky. And his first rookie card, printed on a little piece of cardboard in 1979, specifically in Canada by O-Pee-Chee, became a monument to greatness in hockey. But let's go back and talk about the man behind the card.
All right, gentlemen, close your eyes. Picture the scene. It's Brantford, Ontario. Population 90,000 today. Smaller then. It's about 60,000 people that lived in Brantford back then. Winters, Kevin. Now you're from Phoenix, so you don't know that this is a thing, but so cold you can your breath, you like breathe and out comes your air. You can see it. Right? That cold, it's so stinking cold, Kevin, that the back of your neck's frozen. And in the backyard of a modest brick home, Wayne's dad, Walter Gretzky, builds a rink with his own hands. The locals would call it Wally's Coliseum. And every night, that little rink came alive, gentlemen. Floodlights, frozen breath, and a kid in his toque skating figure eights until the porch lights flickered out.
The honest truth is, I used to take him to the outdoor rinks. He loved hockey, he loved to skate, and he loved to play. One night I came home and I was literally frozen.
So my dad decided that he would build a rink in the backyard. He could sit in the house and I could go out there and skate. I could get all the skating I wanted in and he could stay warm.
It was self-preservation. That's the honest truth.
by age 6, I mean, listen, guys, his dad built him a rink. I mean, this is giving me Tiger Woods vibes, if I'm being real honest, right? Wayne's playing against 10-year-olds at the age of 6. And then by 10, the guy scored, is this a typo in my notes, guys? Over 1,000 goals in a single youth season. Numbers so absurd that reporters came just to watch him. As a freaking 10-year-old, one of the coaches said he saw the ice like he was watching from the rafters. By the way, I think that's a smart way of saying he saw the game different and better than everyone else. But Wayne himself once said, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. That wasn't just the guy's slogan. It wasn't just a quote. That's like how the guy played the game. That was how he saw it.
Thanks to Dad, Walter Gretzky. He wasn't just a dad with a shovel. He was a student of hockey. He was a student of the game. He mapped plays out on pieces of cardboard. He drew passing lines on napkins, and he taught Wayne to think nonstop about hockey.
You could hear his voice. Walter always over there in the corner saying, heads up, Wayner. You can't see what's coming if you're staring at your skates. That backyard rink wasn't just ice, Kevin. It was a laboratory for one of the most creative minds in sports.
I mean, it had to be. And Walter, I'm just going to call him Pops or Dad. I'm trying to think of what I want to call Walter. But this guy, he believed in imagination. He told Wayne, don't go where they tell you. Go where they're not. That's how Wayne learned to turn hockey into an art.
I don't have any children, 100% confirmed, but the other two guys on the podcast here, they do. I mean, have you guys built your kids a skating rink yet? Like, what are you doing as dads? Like, how do you even rank in the grand scheme of things from like 0 being deadbeat dad on a TV show, one of those trashy, 3:30 in the afternoon TV shows, or like Walter Gretzky? Like, where do you guys like honestly grade yourselves?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. We have a basketball hoop outside, but my neighbor bought it and we just use it. So I'm definitely not Walter Gretzky right now, but I'm feeling like I should be.
I'm probably got to call the Maury Povich producer back when we're done recording it. At this point, that's how Walter's making me feel.
Well, this is the origin story of the great one. Not in an arena, not in a training center, but in a backyard behind a small brick house in the middle of nowhere, Canada.
That's right. Dude, Wayne's rise was just so fast. I already told you about at age 10. Of course, that makes national news. At age 14, he scores 378 goals and 139 assists in a single season.
These are ridiculous numbers. Like, what?
It's absurd.
Have you ever been to a hockey game, guys? I've been to a lot of 1-0 hockey games in my life. Like, what?
I've been to games where there's definitely more fights than goals. By 16, Wayne's joined the World Hockey Association, WHA, playing for the Indianapolis Racers, and later, what he really became known for, the Edmonton Oilers.
"17 years old, Wayne is playing with grown men and not just surviving, he's actually out there dominating."
I mean, this isn't swimming, you guys. This isn't tennis. This is hockey that he's at 17 years old playing with, I mean, guys that don't have any teeth that literally for a living punch people out. That's insane. When the WHA merged with the NHL in 1979, the Edmonton Oilers joined the big league. So they went from the WHA to the NHL, and so did Gretzky. The league didn't know it yet, but things were about to change.
in his rookie season from 1979 to 1980, he scores 51 goals, has 86 assists, 137 points. He wins the Hart Trophy as MVP, his first, by the way, of 9 MVPs.
By the way, the next season, 164 points, then 212, then 205. I mean, between 1981 and 1987, Gretzky scored over 200 points in a season 4 times. I don't watch the NHL religiously. You know what it is. I catch the highlights and stuff, so I kind of know a little bit about what's going on. But what I do know is, at a minimum, at least at this time, that had never been done before in the NHL.
It's never been done since, ever. Nobody's ever done it, Kevin. He did it 4 times. Nobody else has ever done it once.
That's wild, because when I think of like athletics, sports in total, we see the athlete just continuing to get bigger, stronger, faster, more skilled. These kids are like their kids training year round. And so by the time they get to the big leagues, if you will, they're so much further advanced than they were 40, 50 years ago. And we're still talking about Gretzky's done things that nobody else has done. So it's not just like he was ahead of his peers. The guy was ahead of generations to come. It's mind-blowing to me.
He finished with 894 goals, 1,963 assists, 2,857 total points. To put that in perspective, if you erased every goal he ever scored, he'd still be the NHL's all-time point leader.
What? Seriously, think about that. You take away 894 goals, and he's still number one. Now, recently, you guys, this year, Alex Ovechkin passed Gretzky as the all-time leading goal scorer in the NHL, 897, and Gretzky has 894. But here's the crazy thing about Ovechkin, right? Gretzky had 1,200 more assists than Ovechkin. So Gretzky in the all-time points category is over 900 points ahead of Jaromir Jagr, who's number 2. Like, Jaromir Jagr has 1,921 all-time points. Gretzky has 2,800. Like, we're talking he's better than everybody else in the history of the game by a factor of like 40%, which is absolutely insane. Like, it's not even human. It's absolutely nuts.
Mark, who was one of his longtime teammates, once said, he wasn't the fastest or the strongest, but his brain was 5 seconds ahead of everyone else.
Ben, you've actually said that about me, the almost exact same quote, but it was 5 seconds behind, I think, when you said it about me.
Exactly.
Right. Mario Lemieux, another all-time great, said about Wayne. Wayne taught us all how to see the game differently. Bobby Orr, another great, called him, quote, the most complete offensive player the game has ever known. By the way, that might actually be an understatement, is what I'm learning.
And old Pops Gretzky, is that what we're going with, Kevin? Old Pops Gretzky said it best. Most people think Wayne was born with talent. He wasn't. He was born with a love for the game.
From 1984 to 1988, the Edmonton Oilers ruled hockey. 4 Stanley Cups in 5 years, and Gretzky led them all.
I mean, those 205 points that he put up in 1984, he was only 23 years old. By the way, I think he put up 216 the year before when he was 22. You guys, like in 1985, he scored or assisted on over 57% of all the Oilers' goals that year. He averaged over 2.3 points a game across an entire decade, which is, I mean, I just keep saying insane because these numbers are, again, you know, we're kind of newly into the hockey here in Seattle because we have the Kraken. They only showed up a few years ago, but I've had a chance to go, Ben, with some of our friends, our buddy John Hurlbut, and some of these. I've had a chance to go to a few games. I'm telling you guys, I've been to multiple games where the final score was 1-0, and Wayne Gretzky for an entire decade averaged over 2 points a game. That is crazy.
Up around, kept in by Barber at the right point. That was off Clark's shoulder. In the corner, fired it in front. Here is an empty net chance for Gretzky with 5 seconds. He's moving in. Score! Isn't that what can you? They're mauling Gretzky over in the corner. The fans go wild. 50 goals in 39 games. He's got 50 goals before anybody else got 30. Righto. And what can you say? The ice is littered with programs. 3 seconds left. 50 in 39. Imagine that. We just watched history here. I'll tell you, I don't know anybody ever going to break down. 50 and 39.
My mind is blown. You think about that run of 4 Stanley Cups in 5 years. That's some serious chemistry. Gretzky, Mark Messier, just Curry, Coffey, Fuhrer. Those guys weren't just a team. It's like they were an orchestra. And Wayne he wasn't even just the conductor. He was the conductor, but he was also like the lead player. I don't know what that is in orchestra talk, guys. I'm not an orchestra expert.
It's like violin number 1 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so he's like the first chair and he's the conductor. Maybe he's got like 4 hands. That's who Wayne was. What an amazing, amazing player.
Hey, listen to Bandcamp coming up with the first chair comment. I'm well said there, Kaufman. When Gretzky hoisted the Stanley Cup in 1988, Canada stood still. He wasn't just a hockey player. He was a national symbol. He was kind of the embodiment of the Canadian identity. In August 9th of 1988, here was a trade. The Oilers trade Gretzky to the Los Angeles Kings for a deal worth $15 million in cash and the first round picks for 3 years and an additional 3 players. But Canada, they cried.
And it's with mixed emotions, a heavy heart for our community and our hockey club, but I guess with delight and sincere best wishes for Wayne Gretzky, that I announce, and I guess more important, confirm that the Edmonton Oilers have agreed to trade Wayne Gretzky to Los Angeles.
Okay, so what year was that again? 1988. So I'm Kevin, we're 10, 11 years old. Ben, we're all 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in that range. That is probably, for me personally, the first time hockey was on my radar as a kid was when Wayne Gretzky was traded to the Kings. Like, it was everywhere, right? Like, there was, I don't know how long back then, a week, 2, 3, a month, like, where literally every story was about Wayne Gretzky, and he was on all the magazines, Kevin, and he was on the Tonight Show or whatever. Like, he was everywhere, and it was really America's introduction to hockey. Now, in Edmonton, where he was leaving, guys, a little bit different. Like, these guys had candlelight vigils. I don't know what they were hoping for, that like they would veto the trade, Kevin. Like, I don't know what you're vigiling when you go, like, show up with your candles after your team traded the number 1 guy, but hey, they actually debated it in the Canadian Parliament. Like, they were going to do something. They were going to embargo LA, or I don't know what they were going to do, but one headline in one of the major newspapers read, "The Day Canada Cried."
I'm actually starting to understand current times U.S.-Canada relations. I think it can all be traced back to this, guys. Like, we've been taught, everyone thinks it's Trump and Trudeau. I think it was this, man. They did it. But Gretzky, here's the deal, dude. He was composed, and I thought he said one of the coolest things he said, and because I bet he was hurt. Honestly, I bet you inside he was hurt. I bet he thought he would be there forever. And he comes out and he says, "It's time to spread hockey to places it's never been." And he damn sure did that.
You know, he's down here. He's enjoying Los Angeles, palm trees, Hollywood. He's Gretzky dressed in silver and black. You know, hockey ended up in Hollywood. And suddenly then arenas in Dallas, San Jose, Anaheim, Phoenix followed. The game kept growing south because the great one.
He wasn't loud or flashy either. You know, I can't, all of it, like even Tiger, not that I call Tiger loud and flashy. Kevin, we all know what his celebration looked like, the pumping fist, or, Jordan had his. Like, I can't even think of what Wayne Gretzky would have done when he scored a goal. He was there was no trash talking. He went back to the line and he got ready for the next face-off. It was just excellence from this guy, right? Opponents would even say that, like, hitting him, squaring him up and slamming him into the boards didn't feel right. So there was guys out there that were likely holding back because he was the great one, right? He was the great one.
Absolutely. Wayne, or the great one, I don't even know what to call him at this point, guys. He once said, the highest compliment you can pay me is that I played the game with respect. And he did. Guys, I love that, by the way. I just love the guy. Deep down, he knows he's the greatest of all time. And yet, he doesn't say, call me the greatest of all time. He doesn't say, I am the greatest of all time. None of that crap. He says, the highest compliment you can pay me is that I played the game with respect. Dude, hats off to that guy.
In 1999, he finally retires after 20 seasons. Kevin, kind of walk through his career stats for us.
Yeah, 894 goals, which we talked about was number one for so long until very, very recently. 1,963 assists. That's 2,857 points. Set and held 61 NHL records, 9 Hart trophies, 10 Art Ross scoring titles, 4 Stanley Cups. That's a hell of a resume, guys.
Here's one for you guys. I don't know what the rules are in hockey, Kevin, but in every other sport, when you retire, there's a little bit of a waiting period. I would have to imagine, is it a 5-year waiting period in hockey? I mean, when Wayne Gretzky retired, they put him in the Hall of Fame right away. He didn't have to wait the 5 years. No waiting period, no debate. Everybody agreed Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player of all time, and they didn't even wait to put him in the Hall of Fame. Makes sense.
I was fortunate to be in Edmonton the night number 99 arrived. Even as a somewhat shy teenager, it was easy to see he was someone special on and off the ice. Little did we know just how special he would become and what he would do for the game. Many players are given nicknames, but very few ever take total ownership of a number as well. Number 99 is known to fans around the world. And tonight we pay tribute to the career of the NHL's all-time scoring leader and the newest inductee into the Hockey Hall of Fame, the great one, Wayne Gretzky.
When they asked him what his proudest moment was, he said that my dad was in the stands to watch me go into the Hall of Fame. And, obviously this guy, Pops, is that what we're going with? Pops poured into this guy. He was out there showing me and Kevin up. He built him but at the very end of the day, I mean, this kid, and maybe it was because of his love for the game, he worked at it every single day, you guys. And obviously he's special, but man, it's cool to be able to hold this card and kind of capture some of that greatness in your hand.
But long before all the trophies, there was this cardboard being made by O-Pee-Chee. O-Pee-Chee printing hockey cards in Canada, Topps printing the same version in the United States, and in 1979 to 1980, they printed his rookie card. Truly a holy grail of collecting. But when you look at the cards, especially right out of the pack, there was a problem, wasn't there?
Yeah, the print quality was poor. The centering wasn't very good. The edges chipped easily. That's why actually getting a pristine one, like a PSA 10, it's rare. And when I say it's rare, there's still to this day only 2 O-Pee-Chee PSA 10 Wayne Gretzky rookies. That's rarity, my friend.
In 2021, one of those 2 sold for $3.75 million, making it the most expensive hockey card ever sold. Ben, I was talking to a friend of ours, Chad. He grew up in Toronto, and as a kid spent a lot of time, and he swears like at some point over the years he owned multiples of these O-Pee-Chee Gretzky cards. But he would tell the story, like he said, they would go out there and they'd play the flipping game against the wall. And I'm like, what? Like, I've heard about this, but I made him explain it to me. And he's like, yeah, we just like 7 of us kids would stand around. We'd all have a stack of hockey cards and we'd throw them at the wall. And the one that got the closest to the wall at the end, after all 7 of us had thrown, got to go grab all 7 cards. And those are my cards now. So these kids are just chucking cards. And Kevin, I mean, the best strategy would have been to try to like bounce it against the wall, just kind of deaden it right there. Right. But so you can imagine why so many of these cards just ended up looking like my guy right here, the one just banged up.
Canada, I'm disappointed if you created that game of ruining the Gretzky card and throwing it against there. I might invade. You never know. This guy created one of the favorite cards in my collection. Let's talk a little bit about some of the actual population. You know, you can go to PSA and look up population reports for different cards. Let's start with the Topps version. There's 154 graded in a PSA 1 for you, Bob, in case you want to get the Topps version, not just the O-Pee-Chee. There's 338 in a 2, 720 in a 3, 1,368 in a PSA 4, 1,671 in a 5, 2,265 in a 6, 2,000 in a 7, 1,246 in an 8, 128 in a 9, and only 1 in a Topps Wayne Gretzky rookie PSA 10. There's been a total of 10,332 cards graded from Topps, different than O-Pee-Chee. O-Pee-Chee had 905 PSA 1s, 1,144 2s, 1,624 3s, 2,332 4s, 1,879 5s, 1,977 6s, 1,443 PSA 7s, 835 8s, 95 PSA 9s, and only 2 PSA 10s. When you look at sales history, as Bob and Kevin mentioned, there was one that sold for $3.75 million March 27th in 2021, recorded as a private sale. There's another one that sold at auction in 2020 for $1.29 million. Another one sold for $465,000 in 2016. I mean, we are talking about massively valuable cards. And then if you go and you look at Topps, there's a PSA 10, 1 of 2, sold in 22 for $1.2 million. There's a PSA 10 sold in 2020 for $720,000. 2016, one sold for an N10 for $200,000. A 9 sold for $81,000 in 21. Another 9 sold for $73,000. Another 9 for $70,000. $60,000 for a 9 in 21. 2025, a 9.5 from SGC sold for $60,000. Gives you an idea. These are enormously valuable cards. You can pick up a box right now, sealed box, for somewhere around $30,000 if you want to try your luck and like see if you can hit your own.
Unbelievable. Like I could take my PSA 9 Wayne Gretzky card and go trade it for a brand new, fully loaded, whatever you drive. That's insane.
I want to wrap up this episode today, gentlemen, with some quotes either from Wayne or about Wayne. I'll start. This is from Wayne. He said that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I think there's an enormous amount of wisdom in that. He also said the highest compliment that you can pay me is to say that I work hard every single day. And then lastly, he said, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. That might be like one of the most impactful quotes for the hobby. If you're looking to collect cards and have those cards increase in value, maybe that's the quote that you have tattooed on your arm. I skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where it's been. Kevin, would you add any?
I would. Actually, I'm going to go with two of them that are a little funny. The biggest difference between LA and Edmonton, he said, was that instead of people looking at me, I was looking at them. That's pretty awesome. There's another quote attributed to Wayne. It said 90% of hockey is mental and the other half is physical.
So good. Bob?
I'm going to go with, he said that procrastination is one of the most common and deadliest of diseases, and its toll on success and happiness is heavy. And I think I just take that all the way back to what that kid's dad taught him every day. Like he didn't wait to get better. He went out there every night. It was freezing cold. It was 10 degrees. He put on his toque, Kevin, a breath, smoking out of his face. And he just went to work every day. He didn't wait. He showed up and he decided he was going to become the greatest hockey player of all time. And he did it every single day. If you procrastinate on your goals and your dreams, man, it's deadly disease, Ben, that'll have a massive toll on your success and your happiness. I love that quote.
He said, you can't beat a team that never gives up. He also said that everything I am in hockey, I owe to my father. I mean, what a standard for being a parent for all of us to think about. If we could make an impact on our children so strong that they would say that to us, I would have to say that we were a true success. We go down in the Hall of Fame of what it's like to be a parent. He also said that you can't measure a player based on the size of his stick. Insert boy jokes here. He also said, but you measure a player by the size of his heart.
Gentlemen, I easily believe this is the greatest hockey player of all time. I've never heard anybody dispute this. And again, for me as a kid growing up in Seattle, I didn't know anything about hockey that didn't involve Wayne Gretzky for many, many years. And he really is the thing that even made me aware of hockey as a kid. I'm honored to own his card, and it was an honor to talk about it with you guys today.
Michael Jordan said, the greatest compliment I can pay Wayne Gretzky is that he made me want to be better at my own game. Barack Obama said he made an entire country proud, not just by what he did on the ice, but by how he carried himself. And then another gentleman that we did a podcast on early on, he says there's GOATs in every sport, but Gretzky is the one that all the GOATs compare themselves to. This, everybody, is why we did the episode today on Wayne Gretzky, on the history of O-Pee-Chee, to honor our Canadian neighbors and their contributions to professional sports and to the amazing athletes that they've created and that we eventually stole. Thank you, Canada. Hats off. This is Cardboard Wars. I'm joined with my friend Bob and my dear friend Kevin and myself. I go by Ben Rippin online. Do us a massive favor. Write a review. It'll get us to make another one of these. And if you write a review, take the time to send one of us an Instagram message, and you might just get a piece of Cardboard Wars swag in the mail, because I've ordered a metric truck full, and you're going to want one of these. Trust me. See you on the next episode. Bob, Kevin, appreciate you doing this with me. And Bob, also enjoy your PSA 1 Wayne Gretzky from O-Pee-Chee. Everybody, see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Cardboard Wars on the Rippin Podcast Network. Don't forget to leave a rating and review. Check out Rippin.com to get connected to what we have coming up, and find us on Instagram at Ben Ripping or at Kevin Rips. Let us know what you would like to hear about on a future episode of Cardboard Wars. Until next time, keep ripping.